Welcome to MAC Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things MAC Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of MAC Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Blue Wave. Today I'm lucky enough to have Kimberly Davids on. Welcome, Kimberly. Kimberly is the current president of the Arizona Builders Alliance, commonly referred to as ABA. And we hope to get into a little bit of history about Kimberly. Happy to have her on as the new president of ABA that represents all of us nerds in construction. And then talk a little bit about ABA in what it's doing, initiatives, all those kind of things. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. We always got to start with background. Everyone wants to get to know, like, Kimberly.
Yeah.
So if I can, I got to read a little. You're so recognized. I got to read a little bit of your bio, give you your street cred. So not only was she recognized, she was recognized in ENR's national top 20 under 40 list in 2018, emerging leader and most influential woman. So congratulations. She's also, in 2022, she was highlighted as Build Your Future AZ Woman in Construction Superstar. Do you have a tattoo to prove it?
No.
And she holds a civil engineering degree from the University of Illinois Urbana, which is the major campus there. Looks like you're a Chicago fan. She has dogs named Coach and Ditka.
I do.
I like the names, but as a Packer fan, we can talk smack. So
okay, all right.
It's okay. I was an 85 Bears fan, but beyond that, then I couldn't root anymore. Hey, talk a little bit, go back and talk about your history. You're a woman, you're fighting in a man's world, and you did quite well for yourself as far as climbing the construction ladder. How did you do that? And kind of give a little history of where you were, how you got to, now you're the president of ABA. Pretty damn cool.
Well, let's go back to the civil engineering degree. I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? Everybody
Does
has
anyone?
those. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out, right? When I was in 8th grade, people always ask me, how did I get interested in construction? And when I was in 8th grade, I had a geometry class where we had to redesign our current house spatially, to scale and everything. And I got an A+ on the assignment, and the teacher said, is this a career option for you? So at the time, I'm thinking architecture, all the things, drafting. And then when I finally realized what architecture was, I'm like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I just like to, build things, work with my hands. And so found civil engineering as a career. When I was in college doing the civil engineering, way back, however, when, I don't know if you told the year that I graduated, but construction management. You
didn't put it down, so I didn't ask.
Well, good. Well, construction management was not an option for a degree. It was just a
concentration type.
Yes, yeah. And so when I was going through it, I thought, I'm going to do structural design and I'm going to be a designer. But then the more I got through class, I thought, well, you know what, I think I'm going to go and try and be in construction for a little bit, see how things are built, and then kind of like a residency in medical, right? You go and you pick a few, you go out there and you do it for a few years, and then you go back and you do what you really want. And I just never left the construction industry. So I interviewed with a lot of places when I was in civil at Urbana. I'm from Chicago, so we say Urbana. And so I interviewed with a lot of companies, and I ended up taking my first opportunity with W.E. O'Neill Construction, based out of Chicago.
Large company, yeah.
And, really just from there, it was one of those, I just kept saying yes, right? I'm the type of person who I actually hated college. I am not a learn by book, learn by theory. I want to be out there. So I just like, hurry up, let me get out of this place. And I wanted to get in, get my boots dirty. And, when I just started asking questions and, would you be interested in this? And I just started taking on new opportunities, and I just said yes to everything. Probably too much, right? Took a little bit too much on, but it helped me understand all the different facets of construction. And so I just continue that mantra for the next 20 some years to just keep taking on new opportunities.
What were some of the other landing spots along the way?
So
give me your little bit. What I'm getting is, give me your resume.
Give me your resume.
Just a context for the listeners.
For sure, yeah. In 2007, I left Chicago and I moved out here.
Oh, 2007, okay.
And so, perfect timing, right before the downturn. But I was able to stay with W.E. O'Neill at the time.
So they had office here.
Yep, so I transferred there. And then in 2015, took an opportunity with the Whites Company.
Oh.
And then at the end was their vice president, general manager, running their office here in the Southwest region. And then now I find myself at the ABA.
So what was your congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
What was your background with ABA prior to this role?
So in 2014, I went through the LDF program, and
define the LDF.
Oh, sorry, it's the acronym. So Leadership Development Forum. It's
I'll just give you an A for remembering what the hell it stands for.
Yeah, we have so many acronyms. It's all of our classes have different titles and acronyms. So Leadership Development Forum, and it's one of the coveted classes that you have to get nominated. Your boss has to send a little bio for you, and it's a really great opportunity to get to know your other peers in the industry and network, and really it's an education platform that really teaches you how to stretch your limits in the leadership concept, but also rather than just learning about what it's like to run a project, but really what it's like to run a business and grow in your career. And so from that, I had the opportunity through my relationships at the ABA, I was asked back to help, judge some of the classes, to teach some of the classes. And then ultimately I was part of a steering committee that developed the YBC, Young Builders Council. And
another one, YBC.
Yep. And then the LDF alumni. And so to try and change the platform, right, the ABA for a long time was kind of this board that, once you were nominated, you were there in perpetuity, right? So
even if you were there in an urn.
Yeah, right. I mean, life director, it is what it is. But back then in 2014, we're trying to really spark getting more people engaged and understanding what the ABA stands for, and getting some more younger people and people that were really energized about the industry, but just not necessarily at in the C-suite within their companies to participate in the on the board level in different capacities. And so I helped spearhead those, and then eventually when an opportunity opened up, then I joined the board. So I was on the board for a number of years as well.
Oh. So then what happened? I know there was a transition last year, and then were you just nominated, or was there a competition? I mean, were you the only candidate?
So at the time, I was in transition, right? I was available and still trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And the current chairman of the board, Derek Wright, called me and just said,
Suntech, yeah.
Suntech, yep. Yeah. And he said, I just let me float something by you, and he said, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to figure it out. I'm going to call you back.
15. I'm going to give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. 5 minutes, and I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I was trying to figure it out. I thought, sure, let's couple of months, let's figure this out. I wasn't entirely sure what the future was holding, so. Couple months turned into a lot longer than that, and now here I am for the permanent position. Yeah. Did put my name in the hat, and there was a selection committee and interviews and everything. So
I realize there'll be a little bit of delay from when we record to when this is actually released. But so how long have you been as active president then?
Since November 10th.
Okay.
But I was an interim since April 10th.
Yeah. So you following in.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back, and for those that don't know, all of our, the constituents that watch or listen to the podcast, which is a huge AEC following, what is the background of ABI? And before we got on air, I described that, us from the Midwest, back in our days, it was, hey, you had ABC over here, which is your merit shop, and AGC were your union guys. And you come out to Arizona and you're like, hey, what the hell's this ABA thing? They just morphed ABC and AGC together. Can you tell me a little bit about the awkward history of ABA?
Well, I mean, I don't know 100% of how and why that merge actually happened, but you know, the fact that Arizona is a right-to-work state and we really are not prevalently union, I mean, it just made sense for us to join forces.
Right.
There still is an Arizona chapter of AGC.
There is.
And they're heavy highway and federal, but we really have a unique hybrid stature. We're one of 2 in the country. There's one in Texo. But really both the organizations, AGC and ABC, do not, I mean, they kind of pride themselves on their separate association. So the fact that we're still here and operating, you know, as a hybrid, we get the best of both worlds.
You do.
And, you know, in other states, when I'm talking to other chapter presidents, they're really struggling to find their value proposition against, you know, in states that don't necessarily have a huge union versus merit shop. They're, you know, they're kind of blended like we are in terms of right to work, but they're really struggling to, I mean, they would love to blend and to become hybrid because it really should advance the construction industry in general. And that's
kind of like politics. Can we reach across the aisle, right?
Exactly. And sometimes they're competing for membership, but then you would think that they come together as well on the politics side as well.
So speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about let's dive into the organization itself. Approximate membership numbers?
About 340 members.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then the board, how big is the board?
20 members.
And a bunch of the who's who in the Valley.
Mm-hmm. Like, and in Tucson. So we're blended.
Sorry, I should have said in Arizona.
Yeah.
So that brings up another point. Does ABA have a active office or presence down in Tucson or anything outside of Phoenix?
So right now it's only Southern Arizona. We do have an office space in Tucson. But if we're going to talk about the future, we are in Arizona, and we have a whole demographic in northern Arizona. So, you know, maybe in the future there might be
up in Flag or something. Yep. Okay, sounds good. What? Let's go back to the acronyms because it seems like, well, if anyone follows anything related to ABA, especially, I think of like one of the biggest platforms that we as professionals work on is LinkedIn, and there's constantly. I love to see that. Our fraternity, our sorority of men and women in the construction or the AEC space, they're constantly touting themselves of having gone through the ABA's different tiers of training, lessons, things like that. It's really nice to see the up and coming young people, or even some of the older people that companies are like, hey, go back, you've got talent, but we want to refine a little bit through one of ABA's programs. Can you give me or give the listeners a sense of what the different training modules look like? I mean, I don't want to bring up a PowerPoint here, but let the audience kind of visualize through the way you're describing it. What are those different ones besides LDF and YBC, and kind of what are you trying to target there, Kimberly?
So we have 2 really kind of different streams of education. So we have really the leadership, and then we have the technical, and all of them have, you know, components of technical. But
of each, on
the leadership side, you'll start with Emerging Leader Forum, which at the end of the day was started because people were trying to get into the Leadership Development Forum into LDF, and they just weren't. They were either project engineers. They were a couple years into their career, and so it didn't make sense yet for them to get nominated into LDF when there were other, you know, senior level project managers that.
Someone you identify someone with talent, but yet maybe not enough. They need 5 more years of experience or something. The
requirement to get into LDF now is 8 years.
8 years experience.
And so the emerging leaders is kind of, you know, those up and comers, those rock stars that you really want to kind of help them get their focus and, you know, really put them on a track. I mean, I think what happens is when employees take staff or when companies take employees and staff and put them into these, you know, these development programs, it shows that, hey, we value you and we want to, help, foster your career. So there's the Emerging Leaders Forum, and then there's Leadership Development Forum. And then we also have a supervisory training program, which is more focused on the skill set for like superintendents and people in the field. And then we have senior executive program that is typically more like C-suite project executives in their companies. And then we also have women in leadership that just started. It's in its third year this year. That started as well. So again, all of these are typically where you're managing people, you're leading people, and the skill sets to help refine those. But then on the other side, I mean, we provide a lot of different seminars and webinars for current legal issues that are happening. We'll do one-offs on, some other leadership development, just bring in some motivational speakers there. We have blueprint reading. We have construction administrative programs, which are a little bit more tailored to, the skills that are required to do your job. Project management development program. So that's actually an AGC curriculum, and these are full day classes, multiple times a year to that people are required to show up and learn. But it's very specific. It's about finance. It's about RFIs. It's about payment terms. It's about all the things that are required to be an effective project manager.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, in that, is there talk about like in the initiatives of ABA, are you expanding anything, contracting anything? What are the challenges either on the leadership or the technical side that you're being faced with?
I will tell you that on the national level, that both the ABC and the AGC are they just tout the ABA as one of the best education platforms that they see across the country. And that is because of our volunteer base. We could not do it without the volunteers and the members and their knowledge and willingness to come and participate and help. One of the things overall in the ABA is we're really trying to bring back the focus of advocacy and legislative focus, both at the state and the federal level. We are very good on the education side. We're really good on the networking and the business development side, but we're really trying to become back to the forefront on how we can help move things forward. And whatever is struggling right now, the biggest issue is the prevailing wage, and they're trying to instill that back. And so what can we do with our members and our lobbyists and our in-house government affairs people to make sure that we're representing the construction industry in the best way possible?
That was well stated. Shoot, what was I going to ask you next? Because you said something that made me lost my train of thought.
The bringing advocacy back?
Yeah, oh yeah. So how, boots on the ground, how are you doing that? Is it purely just lobbying, or is it volunteership, or like are you doing it within the members of ABA, or is it that everyone's ponying up and then you're hiring outside counsel to help that? How does it look?
So we have a lobbyist that we hire, Policy 48. And then we also, with the whole change in the transition, so Tim B. used to be the president of the state senate. We have promoted him into a government affairs focused role. He resides down in Tucson, but he knows, we went to, back in June, we went to Washington, D.C. And he's like rubbing elbows with all the, all of our councilmen. And it was just, it was like he was in his
element.
Yes, right. It was great. And so, it just makes sense that, for them to focus, that's their spot. That's where, they reside. But then we also have a government affairs committee. We call it legislative, but now it's government affairs because we're trying to, envelope the whole focus. But really trying to bring in, when things come to our table and it says, listen, we need to either get on board or not, we reach out to the membership. Yeah. And we also reach out to the membership and say, Mike Gardner with Policy 48 is really big about, are you what's important to your members? What's important? What should we be focusing on? What aren't we focusing on? And so ask some questions that, you know, if we need to be grassroots and really start something, great. But a lot of times right now we're in a reactionary mode to things that are out there already affecting the construction industry, and then we're banding together to then figure out how to.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
Yeah, that was, I think you phrased that well as far as the reaction mode. You know, how can any group have the right advocacy to see the proactive part? I mean, we all struggle with that, right? Mm-hmm. So what, let's go back a little bit to, again, trying to give the readers and the listeners and watchers kind of context of the members and of the membership. Is it predominantly general contractors? Do you have trade and subcontractors? What's kind of the mix and the makeup of the group?
So I would say we're a little bit more, so we have contractors and subcontractors, and then we have what we call affiliates. And affiliates are all of these support roles to the construction industry. Those could be architect firms, engineering firms, insurance firms, finance, branding firms, you know, just all the different vendors, you know. And so we are probably about 40-60 split, 40% affiliates and 60% contractors, subcontractors.
Okay.
And of that, about 139, I just was looking at some reports today, are ABC members. And then the balance of those are AGC. So
nice.
Yep.
What about and I apologize if I'm mentioning other organizations. It seems like ABA overlaps and does really well with like a NAOP or other organizations like that, or the Women in Construction, things like that. Where do the synergies lie, Kimberly? Or can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, it's funny. I was just thinking about that today, where when I was in the construction industry, you know, working at, I was a member of Valley, I was actually a board member of Valley Partnership and then NAOP. And so now that I'm, you know, newly elected as this president, about how can we better partner together to make sure that we are, you know, have the synergies and we're aligned in what we're trying to achieve, and the chambers and
right.
You know, we're not competing. We're all in this together. So.
Well, especially like you were talking about, if we go back to, I was making the notes, the networking and business development. If you have like I said, if you have the education right, and the networking and BD is so strong, which we see it constantly with the way you guys market, and individuals within the organization, the way they market. But like I said, back to that advocacy legal part, if that's your last horizon to conquer, then if you're doing the collaboration, I can see it. It's almost like a no-brainer as far as common sense, especially with the growth that's happening, and especially within these last few weeks with, you know, just the subtle changes in the market to see. I was just talking to someone today, I know I'm sure you can see it too, is the amount of people that were sitting on the sidelines from capital and whatnot, just to see a slight adjustment of a stabilization with the Fed, no matter what's happening nationally, just locally, to see like, oh, boom, you know, is Arizona going to unleash again? And then you see, you know, our friends at Phoenix Business Journal that constantly talk about another project that's coming to town. Yep. Just when you think there can't be any more, there's 10 more in the queue, right? Yep. So with that, what have your constituents and what have your board challenged you with for this next year?
So we.
All right, Kimberly, get your shit done. Here's what you got.
Oh yeah, welcome aboard and get going.
So just be humble. Like what do you see? Like what are your challenges?
You know, I think,
or opportunities.
Well, you know, it's always well, change is hard in general, right? And so new leadership, and one of the things for me is just the awareness of the ABA and what it represents, right? I think over the past couple of years, it's kind of shifted from really being an advocacy and focused type program or organization to more on the education side, which that's great, right? But we also need to when your partners or other organizations around are at the forefront, and we should be, in my opinion, one of the leading construction industry advocates. It's we need to start stepping that up. There are a ton of new contractors, both GCs and subs, coming to town, and so why aren't we capitalizing on and it's not about making money, and it's about getting them to understand the way that Arizona does business and bringing them into the group, and to understand that. I think a lot of people have this preconceived notion that the ABA, well, why would I want to join that? It's all my competitors. Well, I will tell you that at the end of the day, when I was a GC, I got some of my best work and my best peer-to-peer discussions through the ABA. We're here to support each other, and that's what it's all about. We're better together, and Arizona, having worked in a large market, in Chicago, Arizona is a very small, big town. And it is about the relationships, and it is important. And some of these contractors that just come in and think, oh, I'm just going to come in and I don't care about the rest. We're here to try and help them understand that this, we're here about relationships, and we do better together.
Well said. So in the 11 years that I've been here, that I've said it 100 times on this podcast, that it's America's biggest small town. I think it will be in perpetuity, because there's just our world. Like I said, you can do something on the west side, and by the time you're back to your office on the east side, your competitors already know about it. Yep. And our competitors are our friends and allies too, right? So, but then to your point is, again, coming from the Midwest, where everyone was close to chest, you get here, and I can think of the numerous guests that have been on here that are in our peer group. Off air, I can't tell you how much we collaborate.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you. We get a lead that we're not qualified for.
You're calling the next guy saying, are you interested in this? Yeah.
I had one a couple weeks ago that was way bigger than what Blue Wave could handle. And I'm like, hey, did you talk to so-and-so and so-and-so? And they're like, yeah, but we didn't think they'd be interested. I'm like, let me make a phone call for you.
Yep.
And sure enough, at least they're at the table talking. Because I'm like, listen, demand is outstripping supply right now in our space, which we always talk about, our human capital issues. And the law of attraction was, and you worked for one, the national boys and girls are going to eventually come here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can either throw up the wall and pretend, or you can assimilate and figure out how to work together.
Yep. And
so I give you kudos that if ABA can not cure it, but at least pierce that veil, and then try to bring some synergy and some unity there. You get your hands full, but I think it's a challenge you guys are up for.
Absolutely.
So, what other? I kind of cut you off, but what other things are you looking at to either work on or embellish?
I do think some of the education that we do provide, I want to make sure that it's providing value to the members. It's really hard. We have an education committee, and they're really great about bringing up ideas, but I would like to gain some more feedback from people on the board about what they'd like to see. A lot of times at the board level, we're kind of tackling some other administrative type stuff and more overarching, but I think it is important for us to look at what are we providing. When people go through the LDF program, are they seeing a benefit or an improvement right through the people? Like, we never really get the feedback from the members about whether the people, their employees going through the programs are actually learning something and implementing. And so for me, that's kind of a marker of success, is if, because they nominate, right? And sometimes it's, so to me, I think it's important that we're actually doing what we say we're doing, and that people come out, and have with improvements.
Has there been an ask or demand for even a higher tier beyond LDF, like almost like a master's type ABA educational thing?
So we're currently looking at that. Last week we actually looked at the LDF curriculum.
Yeah.
We pulled together some people who were the judges on the panel for this year for the case study, and then the LDF alumni about let's go month by month, and are we supporting the case study with the curriculum that we're providing? Is the curriculum we're providing adequate? Should it be more? Should it be less? And then yes, I think there are, kind of like when we created ELF, I think we also have another gap after LDF to kind of bring. Yeah. I mean, I think we're just evolving, and I think we need to figure out.
Like anything, if you don't embrace change,
yep,
you'll be a victim of it, right?
Yes.
What? Oh shoot! I had another question. Oh, back to the education. It brings up the question of looking back at. I'm older than you, but still, when I look back at how linear the approach was back when CM was hardly a major in college, and you had to go through either architecture or engineering, and then spin off. In what you're doing with ABA, do you have any alliances with it, like ASU or any of the other formal education, like NAU? I think people would want to know that.
So. You're baiting me into it. It's
my job. Yeah. I've done this once or twice.
So I actually have meetings set up with both ASU and NAU, and then I know that we have a pretty good partnership down at U of A. Just to how can we, right? Okay. How to bridge that gap, especially from the workforce development. I mean, we're all about. We can talk about our apprenticeship program as well and getting people to into the trades, but we also want to make sure that we still have people wanting to go the project management route through the colleges and make sure they know what we're about and how we can help them along the way.
So I asked kind of about where you're at in the new role with the presidency and maybe the board, but in this transition, has there been a concerted message or anything that's come out of the members and their membership saying, Kimberly, now that you're on board and now that you're in this position, can you work on X, Y, and Z? Can you share any of those?
Not yet. Okay. I've been meeting with individuals, right, and different companies, and I'm trying to figure out the best way, a platform. We have a couple of events that we do throughout the year that I think are great, but looking to maybe shift some of those so that they're not just show up, network, and and be done, right? And buy some auction items and move on.
That was well said.
but more, like a membership meeting and kind of an open forum where we can get the membership can, together collaborate and kind of provide the overall concerns moving forward. It was a big year of change, a lot of change at the ABA. What
about back specifically to, and we've talked about this on some, I'm sure a lot of the guests that have been on here. And one of the things I'm going to steer from the labor part because we beat up that quite a bit.
Yep.
But I do want to help advocate for more women in construction. I know you've been involved in all the different groups that kind of support each other, but do you have any strategic initiatives there within ABA? I mean, because you've gone through the same program. Is it good? Do you want to improve it? Is there any changes coming, or what do you see there?
Specifically to the women in
leadership? To the
leadership?
women, yeah.
So currently right now, the women in leadership is you have to be in a management position within your company. You have to manage people in order to be a woman.
So PM or superintendent doesn't qualify?
Yes, you have to if you're managing a team, right, it doesn't necessarily have to be a department.
Okay.
So this is where I'm probably going to step into some interesting, maybe not so popular response, right?
It's fine. That's why we're here. It's why it's a podcast.
So I'm all about women in construction, right? I think it's important. I think we do better when there's women in the room and at the table.
We do. It's been proven for all the
metrics,
the chemistry issues between men and women.
Yep.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art, and the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave. to get it done right the first time.
I think I go back and forth on, these women only, right? And I think they're important, but I think we also, once we start creating women only, then we start pulling ourselves apart versus trying to integrate ourselves even further. But I'm also the DEI. I'm also not just, like women for women's sake or, diversity for diversity's sake. So, it's a fine line. I was at a summit a couple of weeks ago, and there was an individual in the audience that rose his hand, and he said he was with a drywall company, and it wasn't anything ABA related. I was just in the room, and he said, we would like 50% of our workforce to be women, and we just can't get women to want to join the trades. What can we do differently? I mean, and I'm sitting there going, do you really want 50% of your workforce to be women, or are you just saying that because you want to seem like you want
to be
50%?
popular.
Yeah. And you're like doing the, saying all the right things, and
more like a PR scam than
right?
being sincere.
Yeah, and then what? And like, well, we're trying, and they don't want to, right? We have a long way to go, I think. Construction's hard work. It's not sexy. It's dirty, right? It's a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah. But it's just not, we're not to that point where, parents are telling their daughters that, get in construction,
Although the economics might start changing it, You're seeing, again, we have beat this subject to death, so we don't need to go down that. But as far as, you can't lie about the economics of the trades, okay? Yeah. People are getting paid a lot of money.
Yes, they are.
If anything, some people are being overpaid what they're really worth in our industry. Again, back supply and demand, and we're thankful to be on the right side of that curve right now. But it also has a negative side too that we all have to deal with, in the cyclicality of it all. Yep. I don't even know where the hell I was going with this conversation, but back to the economics driving it is. Money always talks, and I think that money will start having a different impact in the household, in that conversation with, I don't care if it's mothers, sons, daughters, anything in the family dynamic. I look, when I go visit our job sites now, back to the ethnicity and the women and all of it. Like you're saying, don't compartmentalize it. Look at it in general.
Yes.
I've never seen a bigger pot than the pot is right now.
Yes.
With any kind of immigration, like I said, ethnicity, gender, it really doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think if we can just break down that barrier and look at it as supply and demand and a path to a better life, and something that's not going to go away. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about AI and robots and everything. Yeah, it's coming and it's here. Yeah. But it's not like we're going to replace 200,000 workers tomorrow. And then, you see another announcement of another chip plant coming to town. It's like, oh shit, where are we going to find the workers?
What are we doing? Well, I guess to go back and answer your original question,
I was just rambling. So.
I know, no, me too. Well, and it's funny because people always ask me about women, being a woman, and and it's like, I feel like it can be polarizing sometimes, But so at the women in leadership level, if we continue to have that requirement, I think the number of that you have to. Oh, you
mean that barrier to entry?
That barrier to entry. That I think we have to shift that, because I think the pool of women in construction that are managing people, and we can stretch the rules however we want, is just inevitably, because the pool's not super large right now, it's just going to continue to shrink the more the years go on. I mean, I would love to have men in that class. Right,
you should.
So that they Yeah. So it's that element.
Bring in some open-minded ones that that understand this isn't about the polarization. If anything, it's the opposite.
Yeah, it's the education piece, and
Well, if you approach it from a behavioral standpoint, I think that might be the key. I think we focus too much on the technical part. If you look at the behavioral competencies and differences, but complements of men to women, that's where the magic lies. So that's my.
There you go.
Again, I'm weird. That's why I host a podcast.
Good.
What haven't I asked you about ABA? And then I'm going to ask you about you.
I don't know. I feel like you've done a pretty good job.
Come on, there's got to be more than that. Give the audience a sense of how many things are going on in a week or month.
Oh, so much.
Well,
I mean, yeah. Yikes.
A shit ton, okay. But
yeah. Yeah. Can I just tell you that I am so proud of myself? I have not dropped an F-bomb yet. I'm like...
Well, if you want to free your inhibitions, you can
I
just
normally
throw it
do,
out there.
but I'm really proud of myself for not. I was great.
Kendall says fuck all the
Yeah,
time.
well, I normally do, right? I saw something the other day that literally had like an F and then a bomb on it. I'm like, I have to get that for my
get a tattoo.
For my desk, right? Yeah. I don't have a tattoo. You've asked me that twice. I don't have a tattoo.
It's like the thing. I always say it.
Yeah, get a tattoo.
No, well, my previous guest, he's loaded with them, so it's an easy thing. It's subconscious.
Yeah, something to go through. So, no, I mean, the ABA, I mean...
Are you having fun so far?
I am having fun. I am
Okay.
having fun. Next year, you're asking about the different things on our calendar. Actually, tomorrow we have like a couple hours set aside to literally look at 2024 and overlay. I mean, what we're doing in Tucson and Phoenix. I mean, there was one day where we had 3 events, and I mean, we're small but mighty, and I'm like, we cannot be everywhere all the time, and so we need to do better, and we can't have a board meeting on the same day we have a class and a mixer here, and so we're trying to do better to where we are providing quality for the members and not burning ourselves out.
In that, and these are all loaded questions, and you can't be everything to everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Do you need or want more recruitment, or are you at a happy place? And here's the question: any way you answer it, you're going to be damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But give me some just inflection on what you're seeing.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, do we want? So it's just like construction, right? You don't want to double in size because
it's too quick, too fast.
Companies fail when they're in growth mode, right? So I think strategic growth and making sure we have members who pay the fee and then they don't show up to anything. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, right? And so
apparently they like you as a philanthropic
right.
group.
Well, at the
Here,
board,
take my money, Kimberly.
Yeah, I mean, at the board level, it's like, okay, we need to re-engage with some of these companies who aren't participating, right? Or if they don't have people in the programs, or they're not volunteering, or they're not showing up to the mixers. I think it's important for us to show continued growth and just refinement over the number of years. Again, it's not about growing for growth's sake. It's about, bringing the awareness to those that are coming to Arizona, how we do business here. And it's better for all of us. It's better for the subcontractors that are working for these GCs and vice versa.
Mic drop. We're done.
Boom.
No, I'm just kidding.
Out.
You're an outdoors person.
I am.
What do you do for fun?
You
have a husband?
I do have a husband.
Do you claim him still?
I do. Actually.
Shout out to husband, if you have a name.
Well, his name is John, and I will tell you that the reason I moved here, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, is he moved here about 1.5 years before I did.
Oh, Jason?
Well, I was like, I am not moving.
Puppy love.
Yeah, right. We worked together at O'Neill.
Oh.
And then he moved out here and went and worked for a competitor. So we were competitors in work, right?
It.
And then when he moved out here, we became legitimate competitors, right? We worked for 2 different companies that competed against each other. And now
There's nothing that makes a blissful marriage better than that.
Well, now he has his own business and I'm at the AVA, and now we're like, oh my God, we're not
That's
really,
cool.
But we still compete in other ways, but
Talk to me about the puppies.
They are little shitmongers, but I love them. So Coach is a German Shepherd Husky.
Oh.
And Ditka is a German Shepherd Rottweiler.
And they eat a little bit.
And they have boundless energy. They love and hate each other.
So who runs with them every morning?
So I will tell you
or
that
walks them or something.
It's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, pull your weight, would you?
Well, but Coach is such an asshole. I tell you what, when there's other dogs or people around, he's awful. So I have to go out.
Don't worry, Kendall talks about her kids that way instead of her dogs. So.
I have to go out in the dark with a headlamp on now and it's better for me and the dogs. Yeah. Well, we'll see, animals, and that's a whole different. But it's bad when we see people in our neighborhood.
Skiing, scuba diving, all that kind of stuff. You're miss joy and fun, huh? Yeah,
we try to go.
Well, you got a cabin up in Pine.
We do. We go up there, so that's where we get a lot of the hiking with the dogs. I run a couple times a week. I have some friends that I meet early.
Overachiever.
Yeah, dark this morning. We got out there at 4.
Are you a casual runner or a competitive runner?
So when I was at White's, there was a coworker and a really close friend of mine now, and we were like, we're fast walkers, and we were. This is a funny story. So we're fast walkers. We're walking.
It's like I'm a fast drinker.
That too. But so people are walking behind, like, we're like, why are we walking so fast? And she's like, yeah, I'm a fast walker and I like to run. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get into running. She says, oh, let's sign up for a race. So I'm thinking we're going to sign up for the Hot Chocolate 5K. No, it was the 15K, right? So I'm like, I had never run more than 3 miles in my life, and here we are running the 9 miler. Then 3 months later, oh, we could do a half marathon. So then after that half marathon, it was like, oh, we could do this. We ran 45 half marathons in 5 years.
Have you done an ultra?
I've done one marathon.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to convince her to do an ultra with me.
You go, girl. Girls.
I don't particularly enjoy running though, but I'm in the best, or I have been, in the best shape of my life because of it.
Good.
So trying to do different things, trying to add in yoga and cycling and hiking and all that fun stuff too.
Anything else you want to share that you do for fun? Where's the wild Kimberly lie? She's a part-time singer in a band on Saturday nights up in Cave Creek.
I wish. It's funny. I've calmed down quite a bit over the last few years.
Jeez, take the girl out of Chicago, but she can't take Chicago.
Oh yeah,
out of the
I
girl.
have some stories from when I was in Chicago. Unfortunately, there's some pretty fun ones.
Well, if that's it, I just wanted, again, thank you for coming on. The big thing is you've been, highly recognized and acknowledged in our industry, so thank you, congratulations. But then, coming on as the president of ABA, I'd always wanted, I'd been trying for a while to get someone on ABA to come on, so I harassed the hell out of you until you could come on. So it's nice. It's like, thank you for coming on, helping promote speaking of advocacy. Again, our base here on MAC Bleu is it's our world, right? So appropriate. So if anyone wants to get involved, reach out to you or anyone in the organization about being a member or looking at. I think a lot of people might not realize how much leadership format you actually have instead of just the technical side. So I think there's some wonderful opportunities. I will advocate and attest that I've seen a bunch of our I call myself old, but a bunch of our younger up-and-coming talent go through your program and have wonderful, wonderful results. I've been at meetings with them to see wow, these are our next leaders, and there's some sharp people coming up, which makes me feel really proud. So thank you for helping promote that. And with that, thanks again.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the MAC Bleu Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the MAC Bleu podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday